Okay, here we are Wednesday morning, and looks like we're getting a signal. So I'm just going to get into this position here. Let's see here. See if I can buy a little more room. Nah, can't do it. Okay, so we're gonna go with this one.
Dow Jones, come on. You can get your way out of there.
Give it just a second here. Just gonna give it a second here, see if I can get a better price. Looks like I can get probably maybe $1 on this. I wonder if I can go down though. Can I buy more room? Let me see if I can buy more room and get a little further away from the money. But no way, that's not going to do it. All right. So let's put this in at, let's try 105 to begin with on this one. Whoop, wrong way. 105. Okay. We're way far away from 105. We're not going to get 105. Let me come down to 95. Okay, maybe. Let's see. Let's just sit there for a second. See what's. Let's see what's going on in the room over here while we're waiting. The room may be over. No, it's only 7:40. Should still be on. Okay, so we're looking at 92. Oh, so we may get filled here at 95. There we go. So we got 95. This is a 3 lot because we did scale up now. So let's lock this in 95. That's what we got filled at. I'm going to set my exit profit taking order right now. So I'll say analyze opposite trade.
All right, quick check here. You got the S&P up at the highs. So I just got short at those highs. They're buying everything now. Dow moving, which is nice. NASDAQ, as we know.
Oh, come on. What is it? Is it? These numbers are getting me screwed up. Okay, 150. So we've got to buy it back at 45.
A little bit of buying frenzy happening.
Order one at 45. Send that off. Make sure it's working. Okay, there it is working. So we're off and running. So let's just monitor this now. We got to get this back at 45 to get our profit. So there we go. The room's still going over here. So I'm in this where we have this day trading room where I trade the Vince strategy every morning. It's a micro futures day trading strategy, and there's a room every day we get in and just kind of hang out together, make money, trade. And
apparently I had a full ES in there, so I closed it. I'm sorry.
It's a great way to spend the morning, and it's a great strategy too. I mean, it's really kicking a lot of butt right now. So I'd like to invite you to join us. I can get you a free trial in the room. Just reach out to me, email me, and I'll get you in there. I'll hook you up, and we'll go from there. So let's just listen to the tail end of this room here, and then we'll see if we're out of our trade.
5150. Kind of made up there. Sound should have stayed pretty good today. So hopefully, I'm going to take one of these Dows a little early right here. Make sure you try to wait till we get to the levels.
filled.
Go Dow.
So this thing is already like, we're already getting slapped right across the face on this thing. So I'm going to get ready to get out of this. Let me turn off the room. It's kind of adjusting, the prices adjusting, bouncing around. See, we're getting up there. Get ready to pull the trigger here. I don't want to go too much over 300. I'd rather go a little under on this one.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
So this is coming back a little bit here. That was a little nuts. This is a roller coaster day. I should get a roller coaster thumbnail for this one. We're kind of on a crazy ride here. So hopefully we'll come back down here and get into some profit, but I don't know. We're like over 200. Our profit target, our stop loss is 2 times our profit target, and our profit target is 150 now with 3 contracts. So that means 300. 2 times 150 is 300, so that's our stop loss. And I don't want it to get out of control and blast through that. So I'm just going to keep a close eye on this and see where we go. I'm going to turn the room back on here. The room may be over. Where is the room? Looks like I closed the room window. So let's see here. How to get back to the room. Here we go. Oh, there it is. That's right. It's down here. Let's see if it's still open.
Generally, doing somebody dirty is not a good thing. It's not like Michael Jackson. 'Cause I'm bad. I'm bad. Really, really bad. All right. The singing is included in your membership. All right. So we'll be done for today. Remember, there is a session this afternoon. Hey, if you're listening, Brad, can you post it again at the bottom of the chat, or post it in an alert? Put it in the alert area so it's like permanently there. All right, $634. Crushing this Russell short here. MES, goodbye. Graceful exit, goodbye. Sell the highs up here instead. There we go. He posted it with the ching ching sound. Ching ching. Ding ding. All right. I'm going to give us some bonus time. Let's just stick around to the straight o'clock 8. See if we can get another fill here at NASI at its highs at 765. So what you saw there on my NASDAQ short was a classic example of the graceful exit, which I was going to make a video on yesterday. I didn't. I'll do it today. So graceful exits, right? We did it. I did it on the S&P as it comes to make new highs. And now I'm back in short, but I got a much better price. Oh, the little rope a dope. They come up there and take some inventory and then drop it. Drop it. London. DeMarco, did you honor your risk budget? Establish, protect, respect. As long as you honored your risk budget, you're fine. Stop me out. Come on, just stop me out. We'll be done. Stop me out. Here we go. Maybe we can get another one. All right, now run up to 752. We're at $677. M2K is going down. We're going down, down, down. Here we go. Let's get a fill right there. The NASDAQ is relentless. Relentless.
Order filled. Order filled.
All right, we've got 8 more minutes to hit target on the
Order filled.
Russell short at 1992.
Order filled.
So let's walk through this NASDAQ short. So have a short here at right here, right? So shorted 725s. Another one here at 752s. Now at this point, we're outside the bands. We're outside day up. There's no additional ads other than if you want to do the thing I do, which is, selling or 6 to 8 points new highs. So at that point, this qualifies for sure for a graceful exit, right? So on the very first meaningful retracement, I took it off here and here. Now I'm flat. Now all
Order filled.
above, including +2s, become entries again. Is anyone getting a little healthy on a NASDAQ short that you've been holding? So gracefully exit some of it. I don't care what your cost basis is. That's all you need.
Order filled.
Look for some, home run. Make sure you gracefully exit some there. Don't be looking for home runs. Watch it come all the way back up. Look at what Brad did while he was building a meme. While building a meme. God, if they can't push this lower, it's almost a long here. S&P coming in a little bit and then popping back up. All right. Look at that long Brad's holding. Damn. That's the way to hold. Hold for future prices. All right, traders, also remember that you have to stop trading when the room's done because you have to go out and vicariously celebrate my birthday. But in all seriousness, we did do a video. We talked about it a lot. We actually didn't get a whole lot of fantastic two-way action in the NASDAQ today. It was mostly just small little retracements and it went back up. But the other markets gave us some really nice two-way action. So don't stick around and try to fade strength into the afternoon again. It always looks great if you can eventually catch a top. And at some point, we're going to catch a top for a meaningful drop here. But we don't have any biases or anything like this. For now, it's outside day ups. Stay away. Book your profits. Call it a day. All right, I need another little push here. Look at that doji on the Russell. Gosh darn, that's pretty. That's a pretty thing. All right. I'll leave you with this. I'm thinking that what I'm going to do when the room's done here. What time is your session, Brad? It is at 1 p.m. Central Time today. So that's at 10 a.m. my time, right? So it's in 2 hours. Is that correct? Yes. All right. I might get with Brad and authorize him to do some crazy stuff for anyone who attends that thing. Some kind of crazy discount. Now you're going to have to step up to like an annual or something, or maybe lifetime, but attend that session and maybe he'll have some sort of true flashy sale kind of thing for you. Flashy sale. Some kind of flashy sale. One more minute. Are they buying the 10 a.m. Central? No, it's not noon Central. It's no, maybe it is noon Central. Yeah, I think it's noon Central. No, it says 1 p.m. Central. So 1 p.m. Central is 10 my time. Right? No, is 11. Sorry. 11. Anyway, it says up there. It says Central. I see 1 p.m. Central is what I see. Oh, 12. Sorry. sorry. I'm reading the 1. 12. 12 Central. Don't listen to me. Just read what it says. 12 Central. 12 Central. All right, look at that. We got up to $733 on my birthday. Yeah, just look at Brad's post. Don't listen to anything I say. And if you're not yet a member, mark your calendar. We might have, like I said, a little bit of reason to believe. All right, everybody.
Secrets, cover-ups, and strange phenomena.
Thanks for all the interaction. We'll see you later. Be good. Bye-bye.
All right, there goes the room. And I got something today that I'm just going to start to drown you guys in UFO stuff. Hopefully you don't think I'm a total crazy nutbag here. Maybe I am just a crazy person. But I saw part of a cool YouTube podcast with the writer of the guy who wrote the screenplay for Ready Player One, and he has a discussion on this podcast with the guy who runs Weaponized, that UFO guy. He's the guy who's kind of like releasing all these secret videos, and I never got to finish it, so I'm just going to put that on, start from the beginning and check it out. It's pretty interesting stuff. Compared about what's all going on and all that. So let's just put that on. See, this gives us some good juju some good juice, some good luck for our trade, get us back into profit here. We're down $100 right now. So I think it's this one, yeah. So it's the Ernie.
What I ordered versus what I got. I ordered Huel hot and savory as a healthy, quick alternative for my lunch.
This is not the final episode of Weaponized. Join us this week for a special bonus episode of Weaponized leading up to the season finale.
Something profound appears to be happening to our planet. Something related to an alien presence.
The original Best Evidence changed my life. The only media institution in the world covering the subject and the most interesting subject in the universe. We've known about this for decades and it was hidden from you. Oh my gosh, that's another blow. There's more than one kind of non-human intelligence and we don't even know if they're, we don't want to call them aliens because we don't know where they're from. It's an easy secret to keep if it's a secret that nobody wants to learn.
Step back in time for an out-of-this-world discussion with Ernest Cline, writer of Ready Player One. Yes, this is UFOs, the Best Evidence. It's the best and most conclusive UFO series of all time. It happens to be on VHS because George Knapp made this in what year?
This one is 1994. The original Best Evidence changed my life. And like Jeremy's, like seeing that. I heard they were showing it in movie theaters. I heard bootleg, and because why not? Like, it's the only media institution in the world covering the subject and the most interesting subject in the universe.
The UFO mystery used to be much simpler. Lights in the sky. Now you see them, now you don't. But in the past few years, the questions have deepened. Something profound appears to be happening to our planet. Something related to an alien presence. Today, the search for UFO evidence takes us into increasingly bizarre realms.
I live in this small town in Ohio, Ashland, and we had a little cinema that would get, you know, big movies, but the VCR and video stores opened up the whole world of cinema to me. I could suddenly see movies made, you know, all the way back to the 30s and the whole library of cinema and order away from movies. And so even, so that was big for me was VHS and the discovery of cinema. And so getting to make movies is, you know, a dream come true. On my first book tour, I drove my dream car.
This is a version of UFO Cribs with Ernest Cline. Here we go.
This is my double DeLorean garage. The days.
One was not enough.
No. Well, that's the story. Is I always wanted to own a DeLorean. I saw one at a science museum in Columbus when I was 13 called COSI, the Center of Science and Industry, and they had one on display, and it was the car of the future back in like 1981 or 82, and that was even before Back to the Future came out. I saw this car and fell in love with it, and then Back to the Future came out, and one of my favorite movies of all time. And then it was, you know, a time machine, and then I always wanted to own one. And so when I sold Ready Player One, rights to Warner Brothers, I bought a DeLorean and started transforming it into a time machine. The time machine in my book is a mashup of these four vehicles that I loved growing up: the Back to the Future DeLorean, the Ghostbusters Ectomobile, the jet car from The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, and KITT, the Knight Industries 2000 from Knight Rider. The protagonist in my book mashes all four of these vehicles up and creates Ecto 88, a combination of all four of them. And then that's the car that ended up getting featured in the movie when it got made. They had to take off the Ghostbusters logos. I don't know if you can see if you lower the door. This is a 1981 DeLorean. They only made them 2 years, and this is a 1982. And this one, let me see if I can get our
dude. It's so low to the ground when you get it. Like I can't even imagine. These both drive. They were both so low to the ground.
It's professionally lowered. That one.
It was.
Yeah. I have a kit scanner here built into the.
So two questions. One, do your ghost traps? Do they work?
Oh yeah.
Because my mind is haunted.
Who have I had? Well, I would like you guys to sign it if you can find a spot. It's kind of hard if you find a spot in the black area.
Introducing Iron Beam, a bright choice for futures trading. Iron Beam is an industry.
We got to stay here one time because he invited us to stay here, and we could have stayed here instead of the hotel.
Well, actually, I haven't even shown you guys the coolest thing yet.
Yeah, you haven't.
Are you guys ready for this? George, not even gonna believe it.
This is so exciting. Ready? Are you guys ready?
I didn't get a chance to fully clean up in here, but it's still.
You know, saw that. It's crazy.
But yeah, this is my secret room when I was built. So this was an empty foundation or an old man house when I bought it, and I knew I was gonna. When I decided to build a new house, I realized I could extend the foundation and build a secret room that's all concrete on 3 sides. So this is kind of underground here and hidden back up against the earth. And when we had our big Texas freeze, this is the one.
Order filled.
Warm.
This is like a safe room?
It was like a safe room, well, also hidden, but also a place to, hide all the stuff that gives away who I am in case, like an electrician or somebody has to come over and work on the house.
Order filled.
Like all the stuff that they look around like, did you write Ready Player One? And lose their mind. My second book, Armada, is also deals with UFOs, UAPs in video games. The idea that the whole video game industry was created to train the population to pilot drones, aerial drones, and robots to fend off an impending alien invasion that they now is coming. And that Hollywood and movies have been used to condition people to prepare them for an alien invasion. Stuff that when I was writing this book in 2015, I didn't know about the Nimitz incident or the Tic Tac, or, I knew, I think I still. The problem I had when I was researching in this book is I had never taken another look at the UFO subject as an adult. My initial fascination with it in my 20s, gave way to a fascination with cinema, and it was not my primary focus. I was really interested in writing books and science fiction and making movies. But then, I got interested in the subject again. And it was almost like, this was like 2 years. This book came out in 2015, 2 years before the New York Times article in December. When I found out, our military really is like seeing tubes inside of spheres, off both coasts, and following them all the way to the Gulf when they deploy. Like it was, and reverse engineering UFO craft is something that's also in this story that I knew, and it was like an apocryphal, thing, like part of the UFO lore that I never. I was never going to know whether or not it was real. And thanks to you guys now, I'm getting to know that it's real.
So I was going to ask you, what you are obsessed, Ernie, with UFOs. I mean, I'm obsessed with UFOs, but you're obsessed with UFOs. So what was it?
I would say it's not just UFOs. It's like the phenomenon. Like UFOs is not an encompassing thing. I'm obsessed with non-human intelligence.
Yes.
It's interacting with humanity. And why isn't everyone like, holy shit, why it's the biggest story of all time. It's one of the big questions. Why are we here? What happens when we die? And are we alone? Those are the 3 big questions. And the phenomenon is related to all 3 of them. Like everyone should be in it. So that's the source of my fascination.
What sparked that in you though? Because you've been doing science fiction and writing all this, and what sparked you to be like, fuck this, let's go.
Order filled.
I think it was, I remember going to the library when I was a kid in elementary school, and there was a UFO section. I checked out every book in that section, and I remember seeing my name in the sign out again and again, because I wanted to own these books, but I couldn't. So I was that fascinated with the subject. And then when I was in high school, we talked about this when we drove up to Area 51. I saw this documentary on television hosted by Rod Serling.
UFOs past, present, and future.
Yes.
And one of the best, funded by the CIA, one of the best UFO documentaries of all time.
Narrated by the creator of Twilight Zone. Holy shit, I was riveted. I remember this documentary was on late, and my parents didn't want me to stay up late to watch it. And I was up I must have been, 12, 13. I don't know if I was quite a teenager, but I remember crying loudly to get and being really upset. And my parents letting me come downstairs and step past my bedtime to watch that documentary. And then in the midst of that documentary, they talked to Sergeant Coyne about the UFO incident in Mansfield, Ohio, which was where I lived. like I couldn't believe it. One of the most important, 4 guys in an Army helicopter, like about 8 miles from my house, get caught in like a green beam of light and a tractor beam and sucked up. And then 2 or 3 different groups of people on the ground witness it. And these guys all come back and land at, they're flying from Cleveland to Columbus. They land in Columbus and report all of it, all 4 of them, all checked.
Order filled.
It was the best documented UFO case. And I couldn't believe, like, man, like they were, like, I remember driving out, when I got my license, driving out to the spot where it had happened, just to be like, wow, there was an alien spacecraft, like right here. And like, took control of a helicopter and there were people, like, remember just,
Yeah, that's the one where they lifted up. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I go to science class in school and it's like, are we alone? We don't know. Like, we think maybe there's life in the universe, but so far there's no solid evidence. Like, it was this push and pull, I remember when I met Hal Puthoff, talking to him about Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was the one who did me in. I love Cosmos.
Order filled.
What like sparked my interest in science. There's a reference to Cosmos in Ready Player One, how much I revered that series, and it really opened my eyes to the world of science and the history of science and applying science to everyday life. And he was a great science educator and science, enthusiast to get other people interested in science. But he flipped. He flipped, and the episode of Cosmos that terrifies me. Now I'm going to sit down. You guys are welcome to sit down.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the episode of Cosmos that terrifies me and breaks my heart now is the episode about Betty and Barney Hill. He devotes a whole episode of Cosmos to debunking Betty and Barney Hill. Seth Shostak and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku, all characters in Armada and part of the cover-up in on it.
Knowingly,
and Carl Sagan plays a key role in it too. It's like a way for me to like try to reconcile in fiction this love, anger relationship I have with these scientists who I revere, and I love what they've done for the getting people and new generations in interested in science, including mine. But just the willful obtuseness about, there's even now, like when, trying to corner Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's like trying to get Mercury, corner Mercury, and you finally get him into a corner. He's like, yes, there's something out there. I acknowledge our military, says there's something out there. So let's find out what that is. I want to know what that is. And then moves on to another subject. But like, wait. The evidence would suggest it's technology under intelligent control, not us, not ours. That's another intelligence.
It's not out there. It's here.
It's right here. That's, why isn't every scientist in the world like swiveling their, periscope right onto this, locking onto this target? It's the biggest.
It's fucking surreal. Like, it's totally surreal.
Cognitive dissonance.
George is like, when we went and we did the hearing and we're sitting back there, George was like having ontological shock that finally this shit is being said in a senatorial, in a congressional setting. Like we have moved so far, but what you're saying is still people are not like jumping in and like the scientists are not, because it drives me crazy. The hubris of Neil deGrasse Tyson sitting there, the way he tries to debunk the UFO thing, he knows nothing.
How about just for the sake of curiosity? You're in science because you're curious.
Right.
How can you not be curious about this?
Well, I asked that about everyone, like, what is it? And what it is it's, you couldn't get people to believe that the COVID-19 pandemic was real when there were emergency rooms in every town, all over the country and the world eventually filling up with evidence. If you want to go look at the evidence that this pandemic is real, it's right there. You couldn't get people to believe that because it was too much for some people. Like, it better to just not believe it.
The planet.
Yeah. Or the planet, or like climate change. You still see cognitive dissonance, like too scary to think that like the clock is ticking and we've already, we should have listened back in the 80s. Like they were telling us like we had to take action. And now, you know what today is? Today is a new record for pumping carbon into the atmosphere by the human race. Yesterday was the old world record. We set a new record. And you know what? Tomorrow we're going to set another. Every day.
This is like fact. Like for sure. Like today is like a day.
There's more people every day.
Right.
There's more of us. We've got the foot on the accelerator like never before because we have no choice. which is the other fascinating thing about the UAP subject. Why everyone in the world, if you're interested in climate change, you should be interested in UFOs and UAPs and your government telling you that they're real. Because if they're real, which they are, they're not running on dinosaur juice. They're not running on fossil fuels. Like they've discovered a new physics. They're running on energy from the vacuum, or, you know, something we don't understand, and something that we should be chasing, because that's our savior. Like that's what could save us is, you know, if we have free energy, we can start taking carbon out of the atmosphere. We can desalinate the oceans. We could have Star Trek instead of Mad Max. That's where we are, is two roads diverged in a yellow wood, right? Yeah. Fury Road and Star Trek. Like we could have, you know, either so one. Cool. Like those are the two paths for humanity. And right now it looks like Fury Road. And I think a lot of people, you know, deep down, like they've got a Fury Road desire. They want.
I feel so guilty right now. I want Fury Road.
Oh yeah,
it's like screwed. I'm screwed up. I'm messed up. I'm a truly sick person.
Well, George Miller makes great movies, and jumping on those cars and like spitting gas into the tank, that does look fun, but not that much fun. Okay. I much prefer Star Trek and replicators that can make you Earl Grey tea and zooming around, exploring the galaxy in an armchair, like which clearly other people are doing. That's what's so, you know, I think that's the crux of the matter, is that's what it's dispiriting to everyone to have to accept that humans aren't the top of the food chain. Yeah. And we're not the most advanced. Even in the Star Trek universe, humans, and when they interact with the Vulcans, they're still kind of on, they've just discovered warp drive and are on the same level. It's not like there's an intergalactic federation of planets and you're not invited. You monkeys who are still like lobbing nukes at each other and can't even feed your own population, not invited to the United Federation of Planets. We'll like zip around and like check you out like monkeys in a zoo, but then we're gone. You're not invited to the table. That's a dispiriting realization for everyone, and not a science fiction fantasy that a lot of people, you know, want to explore. The idea of hostile aliens invading, like, I think turns a lot of people off. Even just the subject matter of, because it demotes humanity, and it demotes everyone in the scientific community. Like, if you admit that UFOs are real and they're defying our laws of physics, then our laws of physics are malleable and they're not really laws at all, because somebody understands a lot more about physics and energy than we do. And there's the proof of it. We're seeing proof of it everywhere. And we also, like, turns out we've been concealing proof of it. And
it's crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh, UFOs. Like, I told you, you know, I think those words of Eric Davis on that podcast all the time. Off-world vehicles not made on this earth. It was quoted in the New York Times. And then, you know, everybody just lets it go. But it should have stopped the world.
And that's a guy that knows. And so that's the thing. Maybe people don't
still
understand.
Has his clearance, still doing his job.
It doesn't matter that it was printed in the New York Times. People don't know that Eric Davis is a guy that knows. And so that's the thing. Maybe there's an education of who he is.
Let's talk about, we were having a conversation last night, all three. It was about film and the power of film. As a writer, you know, you're part of that industry. You write movies. You are a student of film. The power of movies to affect change and to affect, you know, what we think about the world around us. That power is real. I mean, you were talking about sort of how in your scenario we were being conditioned to get ready to train to fight off the aliens. But the power of film is real. JFK, for example.
Oh yeah, huge. I think Oliver Stone's JFK is the gold standard for a film about a historical subject that goes against the grain of what's accepted, the accepted history, and opens up millions of people's eyes to the truth and changes the law. Like, because of that movie, the Kennedy Records Act was enacted because a bunch of Americans went and watched that movie and was like, what? This is what happened? Like, this isn't what I was told. I remember I was like 19, I think, when that movie came out. And I had never been told anything but the lone gunman. It's a paragraph in most history books still today, like Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby, the end. You know, nothing about Alan Dulles and the CIA, and the fact that they had someone like Oswald set up in Chicago to do the same number, but then Kennedy canceled his appearance. All these things that's a fascinating history that if you look into, it's like, wow, if you can pull the wool over people's eyes about that, then, you know, UFOs. I mean, I always think of this Mark Twain quote that it's like really easy to get people to believe a lie, but it's very difficult to undo that work. Like once you've got them to believe it, like the shorter version of that is it's much easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be convinced that they've been fooled, much less the entire scientific community.
Well, thank goodness that JFK movie was so powerful and we got all the records released.
Right. How crazy is that? Like, it's crazy to me that the UFO legislation that we're all very excited about is being modeled after that legislation that was created because of Oliver Stone's film that still wasn't adhered to. Like, they still, you know, they're like, well, we released most of it. What about the 1%? Like, still 60, 70 years out, we still can't know the truth. You know, all those people involved are gone. Like, what's the still? Like,
so that truth has to be scarier than just certain people. That's what it tells me. That truth has to be bigger than just certain people who are doing fuckery.
Yeah, well, it's really points to a conspiracy in our own government against our own president.
Right.
This happened, like, it's a harsh realization to be born in 1972 and find out that this happened like 9 years before you were born, and that the ship sailed on our democracy, like, before you were even born. Like, that was startling about watching Oliver Stone's film and then seeing it take shape in the Congress, like, infuriate lawmakers, and they changed the law. But still, like, over 30 years, all right, we'll give you the records, but we're going to do it slowly over 30 years. And they do that. And people have been camped out in their Hall of Records. Oliver Stone made a follow-up documentary called JFK Revisited that is the best JFK documentary I've ever seen, because it uncovers all the documents that have been revealed to the public, that you're not allowed to take them out. But so people go in there in the Hall of Records and camp out with scanners and go through all these documents. And they've uncovered all this incriminating evidence that points to JFK had it right. Oswald was an asset of the CIA and they were tracking him, and all of that stuff is, you know, I'm from Texas, like going down the Kennedy assassination rabbit hole, like around here is, you know, it's like part of the weirdness of Austin and Texas. And I don't know if you guys, one of my favorite movies, one of the movies that made me want to move to Austin, Slacker. Oh, there's a whole great JFK conspiracy rant in Slacker, but also a whole great, like, we've been on the moon since the 50s rant in the middle of that movie. And this guy talking about the final solution and all this crazy stuff in a movie in 1990 that snuck out of here in Austin, and Rick Linklater. So
your friend, Steven Spielberg, who signed a couple of these posters here, your buddy, you made a great movie with him.
He's my hero.
He makes Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He makes E.T. A lot of lore in UFO world about the impact of those movies, whether he was part of the conditioning process, whether he was intentional or not. I mean, they do play a pretty big part in what we know about UFOs and what the public perceives, right?
It's still, Close Encounters and E.T., still the shorthand that everyone in the public uses to make a joke about UFOs. The Biden's press secretary, she just did it, you know, when they were talking earlier this year.
E.T. phone home?
Yeah, like, oh, I love the movie E.T. Like, I'm not saying, you know.
Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not.
Will you tell us?
I'm just, you know, I loved E.T., the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there.
You know, but still, and that's what's, you know, that's what's fascinating to me is a lot of people think that those movies are where the UFO lore comes from, and that people saw Close Encounters and then late night on TV and were half awake and, you know, thought that that was real and that was really happening to them. And not that Steven based, you know, Close Encounters on all kinds of things, all kinds of real incidences, things here in Texas, up in Lubbock, and also the Levelland UFO incident and Roy Neary's car getting shut down by UFOs. A lot of that was stuff that happened up in Levelland, which is features in my new children's book, A Bridge to Bat City, which, you know, will probably still not be out. It's coming out next April, but deals with part of the landscape of weirdness in Texas is there's like a place called the Marfa Lights, and there's lots of paranormal stuff in Texas, but UFOs, man, maybe a crash down in Del Rio, maybe.
Sorry about that, everybody. My hard drive just ran out of space again. I got to get a new hard drive. So I just have moved some files around to free up some space, and we're back at it. So currently our position is down $40. We're in the middle of watching the Ready Player One writer, the guy who wrote the book, and maybe the screenplay, at least the book, talk about all this crazy UFO paranormal stuff. So here we go, back at it.
Which I don't know if anybody, this is something that I put in my Reach to Vast City, but I don't know if anybody else put it together. You know who's like laying in his bed, 15 years old, when the Lubbock Lights are zooming over Lubbock? Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly was 15 years old, was like, I think a freshman in high school. And they saw those things, and the whole town knew about it. So like, I always wondered, like, did Buddy Holly go out at night to like, see the Lubbock Lights?
What do you plan in talking to us about UFOs?
Well, I said this when I was on Coast to Coast with George promoting Ready Player 2, that, I've been talking to him about his life. And I think there's only one journalist who has ever been taking this seriously from the very beginning. Like as soon as he found out, like, holy shit, is this real? And then just held on to it and never stopped conducting, serious hardcore journalism, like a dog with a bone that he's never going to let go. And it's George Knapp. And George followed it, didn't just stay on his beat in Las Vegas. Like when NIDS happened, like some of it was like, you're lucky that you had Bob Bigelow on your beat and Area 51. But I was thinking about that, the story that George tells about a coin toss, deciding whether or not he goes to Las Vegas. Because if George that's not his beat, anybody else, I'm excited to see your new episode about Lear.
Oh, dude! I'll give you the screener.
I saw the teaser, but the episode hadn't dropped. I'm dating the episode.
Yeah. No,
but when Lear slams that giant stack of papers down, and Bob Sodal doesn't want to. He's like, if this was true, I would know about it, right?
Yeah.
And so if George isn't there to be like, I'll read them, and then. Like, to me, that's one of the most exciting movies, like scenes in a movie or a TV series ever. It's a reporter, going down this stack of documents that seems to indicate, like, holy shit, this is the biggest story of all time. And it is, and then it takes, so that's what, 1987 to 2023.
36 years.
36 years before. And still, where's the New York Times? Like, sort of begrudgingly... But
the New York George had this story before the New York Times. He was asked by Harry Reid not to break the story because he wasn't New York Times.
Yeah.
And then the New York Times
filled.
They got it wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Filled.
So you're saying...
So I wanted to follow the story from the 80s. I'm a big fan of the 80s, obviously. All my stories have ties to that decade. Because it's an exciting decade when it was the moment of acquisition of technology, when we got VCRs and home computers and cell phones and all this technology that would change our life, which you find out now comes from reverse engineered alien technology. That's another real blow to the human ego. If we didn't even figure out transistors on our own until 1947, coincidentally, when Philip Corso's sending integrated circuits and stuff from recovered Roswell, that's a big ass secret. And how does that change human history if that's where we get integrated circuits and fiber optics and the transistor? And all this is happening under my nose. I'm growing up in this little town in Ohio, Ashland, hour and a half down the road. That town where I first saw DeLorean, COSI, it's right on the same street as Battelle Memorial Institute, where Jacques Vallée is now revealed. That's where they were sending when they shot a piece of a UFO off in 1952, they were taking it to Battelle. When they, they flew the Roswell wreckage up to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base over in Dayton. I couldn't, that was always a part, Hangar 18, that was always part of UFO lore. And I loved the idea of wow, alien spacecraft, and bodies on ice right over there in Dayton, just a few hours, down the road. And studying alien, craft, wreckage from metamaterials, things with the isotopes don't match our, isotopes. And that was all happening, in this, defense contractor, Battelle Memorial Institute in Columbus, Ohio, all this world-changing stuff that if I knew, meanwhile, I'm learning in school, like, are we alone? Like, as SETIs, we're hoping to get a radio signal,
Why do you think, George figured out there was meat on that bone because of how it started for him, right? Like, he looked at the paper trail and he was like, okay, there's something here. And they lied to him. They lied to him about Lazar. They lied to him about not working at Los Alamos. So he had this motivation because they lied to him and he followed the paper trail and he's like, there's meat on the bone here. Why do you think it's not really absorbing right now to like the mass public that our government has admitted they're a craft of unknown origin that can do more than our craft? Why do you think?
Because it's too many levels of cognitive dissonance. It's not just, are we alone?
Yeah.
Like, we're not alone. And there's more than one. Non-human intelligences, plural. That's the most scary pluralization ever. Is David Grush saying non-human intelligences? So there's more than one.
Wow.
And then the other scary pluralization, agreements, plural, not agreement, agreements. So there's like so many levels of, we're not alone. There are non-human intelligences here on Earth interacting with us. They have technology that's way far beyond us. We've got a bunch of it. We've been trying to figure it out for 60, 70 years and no luck. Like, we don't even know how to turn these things on, like, or maybe we could turn a few of them on, but, all of that. But then, so how many levels of, also Roswell was real. And, our own government has been conducting a really intense psychological warfare campaign against its own citizens to keep this a secret. And it's been handed off to a new generation that is also like, yeah, we need to keep this a secret.
Order filled.
But then so we're not alone. We've got alien spacecraft that we've been reverse engineering and a bunch of their bodies on ice. What's the story with their DNA? What secrets did you uncover when you sequenced their DNA?
But so you're saying all these questions will come out like a Pandora's
I have all
box?
these questions right now.
Right, but no,
Where are they from? Why are they here? What's their interest in us?
Yeah.
How long they've been here?
I'm
the big ones.
I'm with you. And this is like, it opens this line of questioning, but why do you think it's not kind of the biggest story everywhere right now? What is that cognitive dissonance you're talking about?
Because what we're talking about, it's easy to fool someone, but hard to convince them that they've been fooled.
Okay.
And everybody admitting like that Roswell is real is admitting that they've been fooled.
Mm-hmm.
And admitting that all those flying saucers, that's not stuff from the movies. Like, that was all real. Like, movies and television were used to make you not take it seriously. Wow. And every time there was a UFO story, Philip Glass or somebody was on there to give you a reason to not believe it so that you wouldn't freak out and stop paying your taxes and go running through the streets with your hair on fire, because, it was what the Brookings Institute and a bunch of think tanks over the years. I'm sure there are think tanks like running the numbers right now. Like, what's this going to do to human civilization if everybody finds out that we don't have control of our own airspace?
But do you really think society would collapse if our government officially said there are aliens?
Well, I will tell you, when I met with To the Stars Academy and sat down with Hal Puthoff and Jim Semivan and Steve Justice and Tom DeLonge and Lou, all those guys, they had two documents they gave me. One of them was coming to grips with the implications of quantum mechanics. These are both scientific papers.
Oh, you gave me these. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Everybody should read them.
Yes.
Coming to grips with the implications of quantum mechanics and sovereignty in the UFO. Both really interesting reads. Sovereignty in the UFO, especially because the thesis of it is that no government can acknowledge that UFOs are real because it immediately undermines their sovereignty. If you don't control your own airspace and you can't protect your own citizens, and there's a technology above and beyond you, then you are not a sovereign nation. That's why the Air Force is mum, because if you admit that UFOs are real, then you admit like we don't have air supremacy, not even close. or scientific supremacy, like especially in America, like it undermines American supremacy. It undermines human supremacy. It undermines people who speak for the scientific community. And there's a cult of science. You know, I've been a part of it. You know, I love science, and science is for me is it's the magic that works, right? Like it's what's going to give us, if anything, is going to lead us to the path of Star Trek, like Utopia, Roddenberry's vision. It's science. But there's also like a line that's, I realize now, science will go up to and stop. And here there be dragons. You know, scientists are human beings, and they need to get tenure, and they need to publish, and they need to pay their bills, and they want to raise their kids, and not have their lives threatened. Like scientists will, can be influenced and will go up to a line. There's this thing in the scientific community called intellectual phase locking, which is a fancy term for they accidentally fudge their numbers to try to get other scientists to approve of them. People, like a lie will propagate through science because people are afraid of being wrong or going against the grain. The other thing that I think is fascinating is the way the language is changed when the government or the scientific community is ready to admit that something is real. And the two examples I think of are cold fusion, which is now known as low energy nuclear reaction.
It was actually
LENR.
It was actually LENR before it was called cold fusion, and I've interviewed and documented with all the godfathers of that.
But they gave it the name cold fusion to discredit it, or
I don't know. Is that what happened?
Well,
I don't know, but it was called low nuclear energy reaction, whatever it was.
Right.
And so these guys, they're still on the hunt to this day. Fission, fusion, the whole I filmed with tons of them. That was my kind of gateway into this scientific aspect of maybe related to UFOs. All those old schoolers, Gordo, I White Sands, and I filmed with these guys. They're like so prickly about the UFO thing. And the reason why is because they all know it's true, because some of them saw UFO ships over when they're driving into the base. I can get you in contact. You can talk with them. They're right over.
They also know cold fusion is real, and it's been buried. It's been buried.
Pons and Fleischmann had to leave the country. They had reproducible results, and they were going around to MIT and other universities. And like, that's another fascinating, there's a special, when you file a patent, there's a special dispensation for energy creation inventions. Go through a special process separate from all other inventions. That's what's fascinating to me is, because once we tap the vacuum, Hal Puthoff is heavily involved in this, and a guy named Ken Shoulders. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Exotic vacuum objects, an hydrodynamic drive is something that you can already do. We could already have Star Trek and flying saucers if we had the power source. That's what's crazy about those Navy patents.
Yes.
And Alexander Pei.
That's right.
Why isn't every journalist, why does some science fiction writer, have to dig into this and find this out on my own, that the Navy years ago now patented a inertial mass reduction device.
Yes.
And UFO technology.
Inertial mass reduction device.
You have a guy who did that, who made a breakthrough. Remember?
Which one?
In the cold fusion stuff.
Oh, yeah. The first time a diode was ever lit up by cold fusion in the public realm, I believe I documented it. I filmed it. I got these nerds, and they have this cold fusion devices, and the old schoolers that worked on the low nuclear reaction. And I'm like, dude, I can't show anything on film. You got to show me something physical. Can you light a light bulb? And they're thinking like nerds, and they're like, I think we can. And then all of a sudden, they start screaming. The diode lit up through this reactor he's had for a long time. So yeah, I guess that shit's real. But what you're saying is that we know the technology. We don't have the fuel source, the power source, which reminds me of Lazar. His story.
The scientists will only go so far, and then they won't go any further. They can't.
Because you're not going to get tenure. You're not going to get government funding for your research because it's all controlled. It's and I think that's people how do they keep this secret for 90 years? It's an easy secret to keep if it's a secret that nobody wants to learn. Like if it's a too terrible to tell, as George puts it, which to me, I've narrowed it down to three possibilities.
Order filled.
Reasons why you wouldn't want anybody to know this, if these were the scenarios, is FLZ,
Order filled.
farm, lab, or zoo.
Yeah.
If it's a farm, if the Earth is a farm and humans are being grown for some purpose, holy shit! Nobody's gonna show up to work tomorrow if that news gets out.
I don't want to be fooled.
Like, holy crap! Like a laboratory, like we're being experimented on willy nilly, which is Bud Hopkins and John Mack, sold me on that decades ago, like that was happening. And even if that, some people say alien abductions are like a psyop using aliens as a cover, equally disturbing. But if it's all, all real, then it's part of the most interesting story of all time. And that's why I'm so proud of Steven. Like, what other filmmaker tackles this subject and has opened people's eyes to it and popularized it around the world and gotten people interested in it? Like, remember I saw Close Encounters the first time? I had like UFO dreams for weeks, and I think that was probably why I started checking all those books from the library. Like,
how about Taken?
Yeah.
Taken as well.
That was a great series.
Amazing.
What do you make? Just random question, but what do you make of the hand scanner in the Steven Spielberg movie? Because he's your buddy, right? What's the hand scanner? Because Lazar, he talked about it. I read so many and listened to so many interviews that aren't public, but that George did with Lazar. And one time I said, I caught him. This is wrong. And George was like, okay, yeah, we'll keep looking. He's like, I've been down that road too. And then all of a sudden it gets filled. And I get an image of this thing, the identity map. I mean, I tell you, I showed it to Bob. It was a genuine real. He had not seen it since he used it, and then we found out those were being used at the Nellis test site in those years. And I talked to other people that use them, and not everybody used them. And depending on what program you're in, I've watched that movie as a kid a bunch of times. I never saw that. It was never said. Through 30 years, it was never said.
You saw it, you just didn't recognize it because you had never seen that photo that you found. It's like no one knew what that looked like or knew that was a real thing. That could have just been a piece of set dressing. There was no reason to focus in on that.
But people say Bob's lying because it was in a movie. But the thing is, 30 years they had to find that. Yeah. And the things none of us knew. And we've all watched the movie.
Yeah. Well, somebody saw your photo of that and then watched Close Encounters. It was like, oh, that's right. Same thing. But prior to that, you never spotted that or knew that it was real.
That's
I'll
right.
tell you the research that I did on that hand scanner, talking to the one of the production designers that worked on that movie, is they had people from the U.S. Military contributing equipment and design stuff and to the production that they used. And I asked TTSA about it, and Steve Justice told me that he used a hand scanner just like that at Tonopah.
At Tonopah.
Measure the fingers in your bone. So like it's a real
I know the contract now that had it up there at the test site, and it was used in different programs, and not everybody, like the SR-71 guys at Tonopah, some of them had to use it, some didn't. So it was there. It was just when you reverse engineer it, it looks suspicious or weird, but when you actually live it,
like Lazar is supposed to have seen that in a movie. It registers, and 30 years later, he puts it as part of his story.
Just people focusing in on the minutia. Like here are the key questions about Bob Lazar that everybody needs to ask themselves whether or not you should take it seriously. Like if there's no there, why are they? Why all the hubbub? Why tapping his phone and raiding his house and tapping George's phone and showing up at his house? Like why all of the clear evidence that like this guy is important and they want him to be quiet, like if he has nothing to say and it's all nonsense. Never, even Stanton Friedman, like when confronted with that, he would he could never answer the question, like why, and to me that's enough evidence. It's like with Dave Brush, like why are you trying to discredit this guy if what he's saying isn't true, and it clearly, like all the evidence, like I love that phrase that he used. Anyone with an ounce of cognitive reasoning, that he said, can look at the evidence and see like, oh, it's being obfuscated, it's being hidden, and the truth is, willful. Like for somebody who grows up also like revering NASA, I adore NASA, and like that's what's going to lead us to Star Trek. Humans reaching out into space, and to like think that NASA's complicit and it's photoshopping alien spacecraft out of photos, and they, I don't know if you've seen this, the advent of Photoshop, early like new versions of Photoshop will let you look at a photo and see if it's been doctored.
Yeah.
Feeding old NASA photos onto that, they found like they were adding a red tint to everything on Mars. That is gone now. Now that they've been outed, they don't add a red tint to things on Mars because it looks a lot more like Earth on Mars. And also like photos of the Earth where they've cut and pasted clouds from one section over to another to hide NASA. What are you doing? Like once you lie in one of your photos to cover something up, then everything that comes from you is suspect. Like these are like hard truths to wrestle with because again, like nobody wants to believe that they've been fooled, much less like that everybody's been fooled.
Okay.
And
so in Photoshop, NASA was turning the color of the surface of Mars intentionally red. They were adding that.
Yeah, and they came out with a new version of Photoshop that allowed you to see if like the scale and things had been doctored, and found out a bunch of NASA photos have been doctored. You can also like ramp up the brightness and see like big chunks blacked out. Lots of things blacked out in old Apollo mission photos, and there's a couple great documentaries about this.
By who?
I want to say one's Richard Dolan's in them. Is guy's named Darcy something.
Darcy Weir?
Yeah, Darcy Weir's made some great movies about the space program and all the stuff NASA's been trying to. The thread, what is it? The tether incident is a famous one where they had this giant.
STE something. Yeah, I know
so many times. Like people caught them on NASA's. Used to have a live webcam. Like some giant triangular craft will start to come into frame, and NASA cuts the feed. How many times has NASA cut the feed to hide some awesome interstellar spacecraft that's like floating into frame? Like that's what kills me is all the amazing footage, the stuff that Gordon Cooper shot. Everybody needs to go watch the last scene of The Right Stuff. You know what the last line of The Right Stuff is Gordon Cooper was the greatest pilot anyone ever saw. Dennis Quaid plays Gordo Cooper in The Right Stuff. And so one of the guys who had The Right Stuff said that he saw a flying saucer set down and put its landing gear down and then pull the gear back up, lift up, and zoom away, and that it was filmed. And he personally sent that film to Washington, D.C. Christopher Mellon told me he went looking for that footage.
Yeah, that's Gordon Cooper, right? So astronaut and like an American hero. Yeah, he saw on a military base the footage. So his guys were filming test flights of vehicles and then
exotic vehicles. Right? They were showing off. What I love about that story is I think it was a exotic technology test.
Yeah.
Like they were of human technology,
yes,
right? They had set up because they were filming fancy technology.
Correct.
So then, while they're in the midst of filming exotic human technology,
real fancy stuff
shows up as if they knew, like, oh, it's being filmed and they're doing
here we are.
Here, check this out.
Yeah, check it out.
And it does. It gets sent right to Washington. Like, was all that burned? Did they ditch it all? Did they hide it all? Or like, how much?
For our audience, right? So for people that are watching Weaponized, so this is Gordon Cooper, American astronaut, American hero. This dude had this film footage.
All right, so I'm back again. So I ran out of hard drive space again. I think that this big video window is eating up a lot of the hard drive. So I'm going to shrink this down, make it small and smaller there. We can at least hear them. And then we'll just pick up again where we left off. So right now the position's down 120, and also let's start looking at how long I've been in this trade. I might just get out for a time stop, but we'll keep going for a little bit here. All right, so back to the boys.
When he was a World War II pilot, chasing them, and they would go too high and they could never catch them, and they saw him all the time. And
Gordon Cooper chased him.
Yeah, chased Foo Fighters. Like, I don't need anybody like,
No, I never met him. I wrote to him. We were working.
I don't need anybody more credible than that. The guy, he's one of the guys that had the right stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember when I asked Christopher Mellon, he said that he went and tried to find that footage, and the guy said, "Oh well, it would have been tossed out a long time ago." Oh. Like, couldn't believe that. Yeah. But also, like, what do you think about what do you think about that? Like, why would Gordon Cooper say that? And he said, "Oh well, Gordon Cooper, he'd gotten old by the time he said that." I'm like, what? So he's got dementia. He doesn't remember World War II or things that happened. Well, like, he doesn't have the right stuff anymore. Is that what it is? Like, he's like one of our American heroes, like one of the Mercury astronauts, like one of the guys. And once I heard, once I dug through like enough James Fox documentaries or maybe it was one of yours to see that footage. That's like something Gordo People saying that's something that should have went on the evening news with Dan Rather, like right when he said it.
Yeah.
But you have to go digging for it to find it. And that's, no one had done more digging for the rest of us than George.
Yeah.
And when, and I think when 2017 rolled around and the New York Times and Chris and Lou and that footage that gave everybody cover and permission to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. Like you could believe it in public now because you could say it was in the New York Times.
Other media, Congress, people like Abby Loeb who get attracted to it. Scientists
Still, like 5 years later, but there's that, UFOs are real and there might be aliens. That's a big leap for everyone. But we've known about this for decades and it was hidden from you. Oh my gosh, that's another blow.
Right.
There's more than one kind of non-human intelligence. And we don't even know we don't want to call them aliens because we don't know where they're from. They could be from other dimensions or they could be from here. They've always been here in the oceans, maybe they created us. That's the other secret, like the part of the farm lab zoo thing. Nobody wants to be in a farm lab or zoo. All three, imply a prison, unwilling captives. How do you trying to conduct science, if we're in a farm, lab, or zoo and just figuring out that we're in a farm, lab, or zoo? That's like part of what science, the mission science should be on to help us realize our circumstances and the nature of our reality. That's the other thing about that TTSA document, the other document they gave me, the implications of quantum mechanics, which all boils down to the wave function collapse and the double slit experiment. And it seems that reality doesn't coalesce and take shape. The cat inside the box isn't alive or dead until you open the box and look. And then the cat becomes alive or dead. Until that moment when you open the box, it's in a superposition. It's both alive and dead. And you don't know, and it doesn't actually happen. To me, that sounds like a video game. To me, that sounds like the video game engine only rendering things when you're looking in that direction. That's only rendering the part of the map that the player is able to view. Still happens in virtual reality. You're only able to see, within your field of view. And that seems to be the nature of reality based on quantum mechanics.
It exists for the observer.
It exists for the observer, which would make, that's the scary implication for me. Well, that's the scary. I'm, fascinated with the idea of simulation, obviously being write books about it. But to me, what's, and there are quantum processes all over, like even photosynthesis, plants turning energy from the sun into energy for themselves, that has quantum processes in it. So quantum mechanics is part of how the universe, the engine of the universe works. And the implications are human consciousness creates reality. And if that's the case, if you were going to grow humans for a purpose, that might be a purpose for growing conscious beings is you're creating reality. It's a crazy science fiction implication that now, has real world implications because we're moving from this old, are we alone, humans alone and evolved to consciousness all by ourselves here, universe that we've been sold to this new Star Trek-like universe or Star Wars type universe where there are more than one brand of non-human intelligence interacting with humanity. Like
if we're farm, lab, or zoo, it means somebody else has the keys. And people are going to have trouble with any of those. Somebody has the key to the farm, the lab, or the zoo, and it's not us. The idea that consciousness may have existed before the universe did, people are going to have trouble with that.
Yeah.
And is your theory, you're saying like, so if you're kind of growing humans, that's a conduit to creating more consciousness? Is that like the idea you said?
Well, it's one idea, one implication. If you want to have your mind blown, read those DIRDs, those Defense Intelligence Research documents that Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis put together. Those spell it out. And I asked Hal Puthoff, I got a signed copy of Mind Reach over there on the bookshelf, and signed copies of all the God's Man and War and but the the question I asked,
Order filled.
What were we talking about? I lost
We're talking about the idea that you're kind of breeding humans to create more consciousness. You said that's one implication of it, but then you were talking about Hal Puthoff, and you're giving us another implication of how human consciousness or human beings can be built or put here singular to create consciousness.
Right.
And they harvest us in a sense.
Well, there's that. Maybe what I was thinking of is Bob Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute, which got famous because the CIA did an analysis of the Monroe process, which is like a process of Bob Monroe developed this process of meditation and this thing using binaural beats on headphones.
Order filled.
He on the radio station was like a recording engineer, and he started to have out of body experiences, and then started to develop this method of using listening to binaural beats to activate different lobes of your brain and allow you to enter a out of body state, and that he would have experiences with other non-human intelligence.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had out of body experience?
I've never seen a UFO. I've never experienced a ghost. I fear that if I was like you guys and I got the chance to go to Skinwalker Ranch and camp out there all night, George did. Yeah, but I have the same thing. Like it's not messing with me. I'm fast. It's like almost like the people who are fast. Same with Steven. Steven.
It's like
I'm the most deserving person ever to see a UFO. So never happened.
It's so weird, man. It's almost like the people that don't need to see them. I mean, sometimes UFO interactions are like car crashes. Like people who have no interest in this. It's like, bam, they see a UFO, their jaws drop. But the people that really want to see them, I believe, Ernie, if you keep looking up and if you keep it in your mind, you want to, and you're not making it up. You're not seeing the ISS and making it up. You'll see something, man.
I shouldn't have to look up. I should have the government should wheel them out into a showroom. All 12 of them. Apparently, one of them looks like Santa's sleigh, and it's got ram horns on the underside.
You would have one in your garage in a week.
Oh man, I would do that. I have to make do with pretend time machines and pretend spaceships when what I want is to see the real thing. Like, that's what kills me. Like, you guys have had evidence, hard evidence of non-human intelligence and technology, and you've been trying to figure it out. And you don't use the best scientists in the world. You use people like Bob Lazar with fucked up shit in their background that then if they blab, then you can discredit them and make it like, oh, well, look at this guy. There's no way, he just also happens to be a really good scientist who builds jet cars. And like Edward Teller, here's what I want to know, Stan Friedman from Beyond the Grave. Like, why won't Edward Teller talk to you about Bob Lazar?
Answer the question.
Answer that question. Why won't Edward Teller? I always think of Edward Teller as like, I will sit here and mute.
Yeah,
that's what Edward Teller says. Like, so what, ask about Bob Lazar. I will sit here and mute.
What Ernie's talking about is there's this interview where somebody asked Ed Teller, who's like the godfather of the hydrogen bomb.
He's featured heavily in the new Christopher Nolan film,
Oppenheimer. Which, by the way, I want to talk about. That freaked me out, Ernie. But so just about Ed Teller. So Ed Teller, basically, he's asked directly about Bob Lazar. Do you know Bob Lazar? If you ask me that question again, I will go mute. Like, he was just like, fuck you, don't ask that question, which is so revealing because just say no. Just say, I don't know the guy. But he didn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
And so then I watched
Oppenheimer. When everybody, it's been their security clearance. When you can see people, their spine goes rigid when their security clearance is being threatened. Because when you talk to somebody about something like Bob Lazar, you're going to be asked about that later. Did you talk to anybody about Bob Lazar? And then you have to answer honestly, about that. I think it happened to me when I was sitting at a table with To the Stars Academy, and I mentioned the Wilson Davis memo and Admiral Wilson. And I was like, I know you guys can't talk about that, but still, like, rigid spines, well,
we know
this Joker from Hollywood who's bringing up stuff we're not allowed to discuss.
They should be scared of you. You know too much. I know whatever's
available on the internet, whatever, watching your podcast and watching Need to Know and like sorting through you can see all the books on my shelf. You should do a slow pan of the mountain of books that I've sorted through bullshit and the truth. And you never know what's what. You like have to absorb all of this because intelligence agencies have like purposely muddied the water of our own history. It's so, and now like try to get everybody to believe like, oh, we were gaslighting you that whole time. Yeah, aliens were real. Roswell really happened. We really have been reverse engineering everything.
Order filled about that.
Sorry, whoops,
Order filled.
to because Farm Labs Zoo, or all three. What would be great is if it was an abandoned farm lab or zoo, and they'd done their finished their experiments and
now
just
we're-
left us, and now we're here. I was thinking of the line of from Escape from New York, another great John Carpenter film at the beginning when they're laying out the way the prison works, and there's a line where it says, "There is just the prison and the world the prisoners have made." And sometimes I wonder if that's not what the Earth is. Like if it's a farm lab, zoo, or just an ant farm, a terrarium set in motion to watch from outside for entertainment or for artwork and music and movies and all this. Every time you set a world like Earth in motion, you would get all of this art, music, history, popular culture, and it would play out a different way every time. And that would be, fascinating as hell and some really good entertainment, especially if you're just a super being in the void. I can see why, and if you ran it, if you ran that simulation different times, one time you get the Beatles and the next time you get the Beatles with a whole different set of songs,
We like the drive-in movie theater of the solar system. They come here and see a double feature, or grad students come here to write their
right. And then,
By the way, that's Dave Gresh right now. Have you ever talked with him?
I have not. We like sent a message through.
Oh,
you.
the video. We sent him a video.
I loved it.
Yeah, you guys got to talk, man, because he has to
He's
stay.
welcome to come over here anytime.
He has to. Well,
You would love this place.
here's the
You would
deal,
love
man.
this.
He was. We were gonna meet with him this weekend, but it ended up for a series of reasons he couldn't come. And those reasons suck, dude. Like he is being pressured right now to, if he steps outside of his stopser and like what he's agreed, they are waiting to fucking bend him over that barrel as an example.
Wait, he's done enough. Like, can't you just leave him alone?
Well, he could
and-
do a lot more though.
Well,
he could give.
He's like already like because that was a thing. I think there was a plan to tell everybody this because maybe it can't be hidden for much longer.
There was no plan, bro. It's fucking
you don't think-
Vietnam.
but it's been a gradual, or maybe it's just like one bigger leak after another, over the years, starting with George and Bob Lazar in 1989. It's been one leak after another, but you have to be a person who doesn't ignore it all and write it off as fiction and nonsense and pay attention, because it's always, and whenever you see a news story about it in the 90s or the aughts, or even now, or the teens, even now, the 20s, it's still give you a reason to not believe it. You don't have to believe this. If this idea of non-human intelligences, plural, is scary to you, you don't have to believe it. Like, if that's threatening to your worldview, it's okay not to believe it. Calm down. Like that's, I think, is the general like tenor, because they're worried. Some people can't handle, the parts of reality that are already kind of accepted, like
Well,
climate change.
George thinks that we can't handle it. I mean, to some degree.
I think that there's a possibility that there's something dark there that maybe there is a reason for keeping it secret. I'm open to that possibility. I don't know what it is.
And like,
I think those farm zoo lab things would
what if
fuck
it's
people up.
with the other terrifying Rod Serling-esque scenario? If it's a farm lab or a zoo, what if there's a shelf date on the farm lab or
Yeah,
the zoo,
exactly.
or like if the zoo gets out of hand, or this crop gets infected, we gotta burn it down and start over. Like this crop is infected with blight. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to
Avian flu gets in the chicken coop. Goodbye,
right?
chickens.
And what if blight is the monkeys realizing they're in the zoo?
Yeah.
Like that's where you have to keep it a secret, because like if they find out that we all know, then the jig is up and they pull the plug on the Matrix. Which and everybody, again, all these people who've helped keep this secret, it could be, there's the real reason for keeping it a secret, which is just to maintain sovereignty and control of your populace. Because if you admit that you can't protect them and that they can get snatched out of their bed and experimented on, and you can't do anything about it, like, then why am I paying you taxes? Like, why, like you can't, and you can't get insurance for that. Like it's they're all harsh realizations that kind of break government and break governmental trust, because no government is willing to admit, oh well, there's a higher power and we can't, I can't help you. I can't help you with being abducted, or but clearly the thing that kills me, and this is something I always think about what Bob said, is you just can't not tell everyone.
Yeah,
it's a crime against science, most of all, because the reason you guys haven't been able to figure it out is because you had your stovepipes up your asses, not having the best scientists and not letting the scientists that you do have collaborate, and screaming at them and drugging them so they forget what happened. No wonder you haven't been able to figure it out, because you don't have all those, how many? 21 of these alien spacecraft that you recovered. Like, they should be at all the major research institutions and every university and every science lab all around the world. We should all be working together.
They're worried about leaks, man, because just like the atomic program, you get a leak and someone's going to make it. Someone's going to weaponize it. They're worried about it.
Right. You can't. Well, that's why we all have to die here in this furnace, is because nobody can be trusted with free energy, because they'll make it into We've already made fossil fuels into a bomb, and it's like ticking. It's like
we can already blow ourselves up.
We're already like that ship has already sailed, unless we obtain a technology that is on par with oil and free energy. Like, we can't feed the population. There's 8 billion of us. And the way that we feed that right now is with petroleum and petroleum fertilizers and petroleum byproducts and the energy created with petroleum. We have to have that foot on the accelerator to keep all of us alive, because and now the planet is creaking under the weight of all 8 billion of us.
Creaking under the weight.
Well, but that's because we're not allowed to leave. Like, there's a line from Interstellar that I think of, like, Earth is a treasure, but she's been telling us to leave for a while now. And are we not allowed to leave? Like, are we allowed to the moon? And then, here's another fun thing to do. Look at the press footage of the Apollo astronauts, Neil and Buzz, before they go to the moon, and then watch their press conference after they've come back from the moon, and watch just the whole, like, different tenor of their personality. And Neil Armstrong went off into the jungle and, like, searching for buried treasure.
Yep.
Crazy stuff.
A great documentary about that.
Oh, there is. I lost my train of thought.
Neil and Buzz.
Neil and Buzz. You're talking about the difference when you see them coming before they went to the moon and when they come back.
But even before that, I went off on an Apollo tangent. But
I mean, did we go to the moon?
Oh yeah, of course.
We did, of course.
But
is the footage real? Because
Richard Linklater in Slacker, there's a whole monologue about how when we went to the moon, there's like a crazy guy wandering the streets of Austin. But is he crazy? And he's saying that we've been on the moon since the 50s.
Yeah.
But then when the Apollo asked, this is something I've heard and seen in many documentaries, and people who said they have access to the medical channel, that they switched to like a back medical channel to say that they saw a flying saucer hovering in the crater at the Tranquility Base at the landing site.
So your understanding is that we went, but that we were warned off by
I don't know. It's a famous story. But there's definitely a difference in their demeanor. Those are like gregarious, friendly guys before they went to the moon, and when they came back, they were different. So have you seen? I just saw this, I think, on a YouTube channel called Eyes on Cinema, and it's an interview with Lear.
That's one of my favorite guys who makes that.
Oh yeah, that is one of the best YouTube channels.
It is one of the best YouTube channels.
Red Panda Koala and Eyes on Cinema.
Eyes on Cinema. It's a YouTube channel. Some of the best grabs of UFO footage on planet Earth.
He just posted some interview with Lear that I had never seen.
When?
Just like a week or two ago. I'll show it to you, and maybe you can use footage from it. But in it, Lear is talking to another documentary filmmaker, and he's in his office, and they ask him about Lazar, and he points to a chair in his office and says, Bob used to come over here and sit in that chair after he came back from Area 51 and tell me what had happened. And I know he denies it now, but he sat in that chair and told me that he saw an alien and that he's watered it down. He thinks maybe now he saw a dummy, but he said at the time, I'll have to show it to you. But Lear, do you want to know the truth about that?
I do. Because I know both of them and I spent all that time. So here's the deal. I asked both of them separately. I saw a piece of paper and I documented it. What happened was Bob did come back and he was shook from what he saw. He was walking down a hallway, took just a millisecond glance. and he sees this something, back with its in a chair and two guys talking to it. So initially,
and it's through one of those
it's through
little
a grated
rectangular windows with the
right,
like in an institution. So he would have not gotten a
No, he did it. But Lear also likes to kind of make things bigger and bigger. But
are you
John Lear?
John Lear.
But of course he does. But here's the deal: he squeezed him on it, right? He squeezed him on it, and so Bob doesn't know what he saw because that's the way Bob's mind works. He knows he saw the silhouette of some small being and these people. However, John pushed him so hard. He goes, "When you came over that night, you were sure you saw a being." And now, so he says, "I remember." John wrote it down, had Bob sign it. And what he was saying was, okay, honestly, I do remember seeing something through that window and it just didn't seem human. It didn't seem right. But now where Bob is, so much crazy in his life, he's just like, look, man, I saw the propulsion. I know that's true. I saw this thing for like a millisecond. How do I know? He said, how do I know?
Oh, so that's something in the video. Is he shows this? You can't make it out in the video, but he shows him a drawing that Bob made. Have you seen that drawing?
Yeah, I have it.
I've never seen a picture.
Yeah, dude, I got that. I got it all documented, all the film.
I've never seen that drawing. I would love to see it. It was infuriating. They couldn't see it.
I have every drawing he ever did since all the interactions with John in a folder in my phone. Every drawing, I'll give them to you, digital.
This is my first middle grade fiction novel. So I've written 3 novels. Congress Avenue Bridge in downtown Austin has the world's largest urban bat colony living under it. And every night during the summertime around sunset, the bats fly out under the bridge in this long stream into the sky to go feed all night. And it's a really amazing sight. And it's like part of the Austin culture is going to see the bats. It was like something that everybody described to me when I first moved to town. You got to go see the bats. And it was really like a powerful thing and such a weird element of Austin. Like part of the whole Keep Austin Weird thing was like the Capitol. It's like 2 blocks from the Capitol is this, invasive species. And initially when they moved in around 1982, they were going to burn them out with flamethrowers and then put up nets and screens so they couldn't get back in because they were worried about rabies. But then this guy, conservationist Merlin Tuttle, came down from Chicago, saw the story. The newspapers were running all these stories about vampire bats invade Austin. And so people were really afraid of them. And this conservationist Merlin Tuttle came down and explained that they're really beneficial. They eat like their own weight in insects, tons of insects every night, and crop pests, and really good for farmers and gardeners. And mosquitoes that spread disease. And for a city full of outdoor music venues, it was like the best thing that ever could have happened. So like in the space of like about 7-8 years, they went from an invasive species to adopting them as the town mascots. And I always thought, what a great story. Like if you're going to do like a Pixar movie, kind of anthropomorphic animals, and it's a uniquely Austin story about outsiders and weirdos who find their place in the world. Like they fit right in Austin if you're a weirdo. And it's kind of my story too, coming to Austin and finding that my weird sensibilities like fit right in here. So it's that kind of story, and it's middle grade fiction. It's like for like kids like 9 to 13, but I think everybody will enjoy it. And it's kind of like True Grit. It's like a Charles Portis kind of I call it a mostly true tall tale about the weirdest town in Texas. So Bridge to Bass City, and it's coming out April of
Order filled. That could be like a Pixar movie for sure.
I think it would be a great animated movie, and it's again set in the 80s in Austin, kind of an undefined year. I kind of combine 10 years of events down into one summer, so not. That's why it's a tall tale. But I weave, Willie Nelson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Janis Joplin, and all these Austin musicians into the story, and it has its own soundtrack. And I think you guys will dig it.
That one's like one of the
most famous.
I'm gonna have to tell you this, my story.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to hear it.
He just said that part, at least on camera. I have to tell you my story. That means George Knapp has a UFO story. The intrigue. This is. Oh, you know what? We got a call right now.
President,
the red phone.
George Knapp has almost told his personal UFO story. Beware.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Never I could say so that.
Okay, that's that. There it is.
Weaponized presentation. Of
Weaponized.
Jeremy Corbell.
Okay, so let's see where we're at with this. This is just turned into a snooze fest over here. So we've come back. We're down $42, $50. So we've been in this for over an hour. I just need to decide if I want to keep doing this or do I just want to get out of here. I mean, nobody got time for this. I don't want to be here all day sitting here. So, let me think here. I hate to get out. Well, I don't know. Let me get out of this trade up here.
Order filled.
Got some Vince stuff going on. If you want to know about the
Order filled.
If you want to know about the Vince trade, contact me. Give me a shout out, and I'll hook you up. We got a free trading room you can get in every morning with us and trade. So what do we do with this now? I do have other stuff I have to go do. I don't want to be tied to this freaking computer all day. And let me give it, it's 9:23 a.m. I'll give it 2 minutes. So at 9:25 a.m., I'll see if we've made any ground or if I feel any different about it. If I don't feel any different, or if we're like at a worse loss than we're at now, we're down $50, I'll probably just get out. Oh, it's 9:24 now, so we have 1 minute. 1 minute left. The suspense is killing me. No, I got stuff to do. People to see. I got a life to live, baby. Oh, shoot. I have a Zoom I'm supposed to get on. Okay, so how are we looking? I'm probably just going to get out of this thing. Take my lumps here. So if we were to get out here, we'd get out for $1.15-ish. That would give us a $75 loss. Let's see if I can try to get out for $1.10. Give us a $45 loss. Create duplicate order. Okay, let's see if I can get out for $1.45. No, this is like the Murphy's Law trade. This is the kind of thing that as soon as I get out for a small loss, it'll probably just totally move in my direction, and I'll regret it. And I could have had a winning trade, but it doesn't look like it looks like it's moving against me. So let's see. Let's see if I can get 130. So I'm trying to get out 130. Showing 135. I may have to cave in. Those darn market makers. Let's see. Oh, it's really moving against me now. Let's see if I were to get out at where it's currently at. So 140, I get to, I'm out 150 at 145. So that's not too bad. At least I'm not getting 2 times out, or I'm not losing 2 times if I get out at this price. And I have to pull the plug anyway. So let's see if I can get 140. Come on. Give it to me. Okay, there we go, 140. So we closed the entire position out at 140. Let's lock that in. And let's see here. Let's go to the Excel. So we're down. So we walk 140. Oh, that's not too bad. So we got it at 140. So our final P&L on this is minus 135. So that's okay. Too bad we couldn't keep that winning streak going, but it had to end somewhere. So let's go to the Excel sheet. Come over to my Excel sheet. We'll fill this in now. So today is 124. 124.24. And this one we're down 135. So we lost 135 on this one. And let me just make sure. Yeah, 135. At risk. At risk was 1215. 1215. This was a time stop. And how long were we in this trade for? Almost 2 hours. $105. Okay, so there we go. So there's our new number. So we're back down to 1415, but we're still overall, this is a great record. Let's hope it'll last. Knock on wood. We had this nice win streak going, and we didn't get out for our full 300, which is nice. We got out for less than one good trade at 3 contracts. Will make it back. Will make us back, like above that. So that's it. That's it for this one. If you'd like to follow along with me on this trade or any of my other trades, just make sure you subscribe to my channel below, and also go to my website. Join me there. Just sign up for my free email newsletter on my website. I'll leave a link to my website in the description below. And when you sign up for that free email newsletter, you'll get a welcome email from me. Just reply back to that welcome email, and we'll go from there. All right, that's it for this one. See you next time.